Which one? BNC male, BNC female, I don't know. Oh, camera's rolling. Hi guys, welcome to K8MRD Radio Stuff. My name is Mike. It's been a little while since we've done an antenna build on the channel, and I've got a very special one today. Back in the beginning of the whole human malware virus, I did a video called the Coronavirus Special. And in that video, I was using the Xiegu X5105 and this antenna right here. This is a 9-to-1 UNUN that's in the BNC. Okay, that's it. That's your feed point right there. This is by K6ARK. He built this and sent this to me a couple years ago. Well, the popularity of this antenna has gone crazy, and he's done build videos on this and everything, and how to hack and cut and dismantle the BNC to make this antenna work, but that's a pain in the butt. And a guy like me doesn't have the greatest dexterity in the world, not gonna happen, but I love this antenna. So, being the engineer that K6ARK is, he has designed a very easy way to make a 1-to-1 Balun, a 9-to-1 UNUN, or a 49-to-1 UNUN, so we can make 3 different antennas out of one kit. And you're not gonna have 3 different antennas at the end of this. You're gonna choose between which one you want, and the kit is only $20. He's selling it on Amazon. Just go to Amazon, type in K6ARK, there it will be. You can also go to K6ARK.com for all the information. Go to K6ARK's website, go to K6ARK's YouTube channel. He'll have a way better video on how to build this than you're about to watch right now. But we're gonna do this anyway because I love antennas. And this is it, this tiny little package. This is for QRP, 5 watts CW and digital, 10 watts on sideband, and it is the smallest antenna that I know that's out there. If you're into QRP, if you're into lightweight, if you're into SOTA, POTA, whatever, 20 bucks. Now, you do need to supply your own wire. I recommend either Poly Stealth 26 gauge, or I like the SOTA Beams 26 gauge wire as well. I'll leave links to those in the description, and I'll also leave a link to his Amazon store where you can get these as well. So without any further ado, let's make an antenna. Now I want to show you, there's 2 different options you can get with these antennas. Today we're going to be building the BNC Female edition, but there is also a BNC Male edition. So whatever your heart desires, you can have one or the other, or buy 2 for twice the price, which is what I would recommend. But today we're going to focus on the female. So let's crack this open and dump it all out. K6ARK sticker, that adds 6 dB. And there's honestly not a lot of parts, guys. We got the actual BNC itself. Now this female version, until he sells out of this first batch, we're gonna need to bend these in. We'll get to that in a minute because it doesn't quite fit. There's the little, look how small this thing is. That is the circuit board that we're gonna attach all of this to. This is what I'm dreading. Inside is a little capacitor in here. It's not this whole thing, no, that's the plastic case for it. It's like in the Never-Ending Story where the childlike empress is holding the single grain of sand. Yeah, that's what it's like. And I hope that song is stuck in everyone's head now. And we're gonna get a little bit of Poly Stealth wire, some heat shrink tubing, our toroid, some other heat shrink, and this is a little plastic. We can make a little inductor to bring in some of the other bands to resonance. So I may or may not try this. I don't have this on any of my other end feds, so I may just do it because. So that's your parts, and some magnet wire as well. Now I want to say a couple things before we start. First off, Adam has absolutely fantastic build instructions on this. Simply go to K6ARK.com and you can find the instructions there. Also, this thing may look big on camera, and while I usually will do a Bofang for scale, I think for this, we're gonna have to do a Bofang knob for scale. This is extremely tiny. So here's the front. Everything is labeled, so we'll be able to know where everything's going as we follow the instructions. We're actually gonna be soldering most of the components to the back, and those two squares are where we're going to solder our little grain of sand capacitor. So without any further ado, let's do that. Wish me luck. I guess there's a little plastic film on here that needs to come off to take this out. We got it. Jeez. All right. So don't lose that. So we're just gonna solder it to one side of the board real quick. All right. So I've already screwed it up once, but we're gonna apply a little bit of solder to the pad. There we are. That's better. I had too small of a tip on. I thought a smaller one would be better, but it's not. And then we're just gonna place the surface mount component on the pad and let it sink in. There. And now we just try and not screw up the other side. Well, hopefully that's it. That wasn't the worst thing in the world. Not the prettiest solder joint, but the next thing we're going to do is take this poly stealth wire and we're going to fold it in such a way that one side is about 1 inch longer than the other, okay? Then we're going to cut it. This isn't too critical, and we're going to use the longer side and we're going to insert it into where it says antenna, right there. So it's actually going to come up from the bottom and insert into the antenna slot, and then it's going to come back up through the hole here for some strain relief. That's the goal anyway. So we're going to strip off about 1/8 of an inch, which is nothing. So you in this hole, and then we're going to solder that. We're just going to insert the wire in there. Hope it stays. There. And then we take this wire and we're going to stuff it into this hole. This is like the strain relief hole, you see. Like that. And hopefully yours will look much prettier. Now I, along with most people, do not use a counterpoise with my end-fed half waves, but if you want to, and I would probably suggest this, I don't know for sure, but if you're going to use this and attach it, especially with the other version of the BNC, if you're going to attach it directly to your radio, I probably would use a counterpoise, and you're going to follow these same instructions and use the other bit of wire that we cut, and you're just going to solder it here where it says counterpoise, or it says poise there. You're going to do the exact same thing, so you've got your radiating element and then your counterpoise there. Next, it's toroid time. So we're going to take our magnet wire and fold it down to about 3 inches. What is that? Hey, that's about 3 inches. And the instructions say at the end to give it a couple twists. So I don't know when we're supposed to twist this, but I feel I want to twist this now. So we'll put a few in here. Now the next step is to actually wind the toroid. Now his directions say to start with this twisted folded part down and then wrap counterclockwise. But I'm more of a picture guy, and the picture on his website shows the finished product face up like this. So that's how I'm going to wind it, because it just makes more sense to me that way. So I'm going to do 3 primaries. So there's number 2 of the small one. Number 2 of the big one. And he says it doesn't matter if these cross, so I wouldn't put too much energy focusing on that. And that's 3. And that is what it looks like in the picture. You got this thing sticking up, then you got the short guy, and then you got the long guy. So we did that right, hopefully. And then we get to wind this 18 more times around the toroid. Don't lose count. You want some evenly spaced too. One turn around the toroid. Ah. Ooh, just enough room. And come on, baby. 18, we did it. That doesn't look half bad either. Look at that. Smoking Ape would even be proud of me for that one. Maybe. It's no 6 gold medal toroid, but I think that'll work, boys. Now we can cut these to about 1/4 inch. I'm gonna go a little longer because I want some room to wiggle. And then we gotta strip off the enamel on these. Now for my next trick, we're gonna insert these 3 wires into the circuit board from the top. These 3 holes right here, here, and here are where it's gonna fit. So 1 wire goes in one hole, 1 wire goes in another. There we go. It worked. And now we just solder those up. Now, as tempting as it may be to force this toroid all the way down on the PCB, we actually want to leave a little bit of room, because the next step, we actually need to lift this up and get in between here and solder. So leave yourself enough room there. The instructions don't really say how much room, but I don't know, I'm gonna leave probably 1/16, 1/8 of an inch, something like that. 1, 2, and 3. Whew, we did it. We'll snip off our excess. Coming together. Now the next step is to install the BNC. And with this first batch of these female connectors, we've got to bend these legs in just a touch because they don't quite fit. This should be fixed in all other batches though, so I'm just gonna use some brute force here, and I don't really know the best way to go about this. Let's try that. Hey, look at that, first try. You want to make sure that those posts we just bent protrude through a little bit to the top of the PCB like we can see here. And then we're going to bend that up. Now, we don't need to solder every single one of these. Really, 2 is enough for strength. We're going to go for 3, but we've also got to solder that center connector that's right there. So now here's where I tend to get in trouble. I've never been accused of being a very smart man, but the instructions say to lift this up and solder underneath. I'm wondering why we couldn't solder it from the bottom, at least until you get it started. So that's what I'm going to do. He does suggest adding a little bit of flux on these terminals to help solder flow better. So I'm going to do that. Let's start with this one, actually. That is soldered. There. That makes me feel better. A little flux always helps reflow it. Yeah, Those don't look terrible. You still gotta attack that center pin. I'm gonna do these other two now. That seemed to work pretty well. There it goes. That did it. Okay. I know you professional solderers are cringing. Now we've got to get that center pin. What's the worst way to attack that, I wonder? I think our friend the vise is gonna help with this. This is freaking nerve-wracking, but we're gonna go for it. Oh, that's not too bad. There, that's done. Next, we're gonna take this little bit of tiny heat shrink tubing that's supplied, and we're gonna roughly cut it in half. And this is gonna go over the antenna wire. And it's just gonna give some bit of strain relief here. So we'll heat shrink that in. And that takes care of that. And the next step, we're gonna take the smaller width of the heat shrink tubing. And he says to cut it just a bit larger than from the bottom of the PCB to the top of the toroid, and then heat shrink that. So this is how it came stock. I think I'm just gonna leave it like that and we'll see what happens. Because I kind of want this covered. It's maybe too much, I don't know. Maybe perfect. And we're gonna apply some heat. A very gentle heat. Oh boy. Oh boy. Catastrophe. Nah. It's just starting to shrink. But you kind of want to go slow with this. So I put that there. And just kind of work it so it's nice and perfect. And that is a completed toroid. Look at that. Isn't she pretty? That's pretty slick. Last, I'm gonna solder these two wires together. But we're gonna put some heat shrink on here before we do anything, because I will forget that. So, just gonna do a little splice-a-rooney here. Like butter. And we can slide our heat shrink over. Perfect. Now I've just left everything on the spool here, but we're gonna go out to the state park and tune this up. And hopefully we have good results. Let's see what happens. Welcome to the K8MRD Proving Grounds, also known as Huntsville State Park. Next step, we're gonna measure out I'm gonna measure out about 68 feet of wire. Usually my end feds come somewhere around 65 and a half, 66 feet, but I always wanna go a little longer and trim back. I have no problem taking it up, putting it down, taking it up, putting it down multiple times. I'm pretty finicky. I want my antennas to be as perfect as possible, so this is the fun part. So let me show you how it's set up. We got a tape measure going out about 70 feet, and I've got everything else staked in the ground, so I'll show you how I can pull it out and kind of keep the measurements pretty much the same. So I just put a spike in the ground. This is the end of the tape measure, obviously, and then I just took one of these S-beaners and put the toroid in there to clamp on. I didn't realize this doesn't really have anything to deploy it, so we'll use the old throw it in the tree method, hopefully. So let's unwind some wire and get to cutting. And now we're about the 68 foot mark, which is about 20 meters, 73 centimeters, something like that. And we cut. Now we can take the end of this wire and we're gonna weave it through these holes in this little S-beaner clippy thing. Pull out the slack, and now that ain't going anywhere. So we can hook this to our mast. I'm gonna use this swivel clip. I also drill holes in these things, but I just made this and I made that hole just a little bit too small, so fortunately I have this little swivel on this jobby. Otherwise, if you have this hole, it just slides right over here and stops about 6 or so inches down how I drilled it. But either way, as long as it gets up in the air, that's all that matters. Now I want to take an initial sweep, so I'm going to go from 6 megahertz to about 7600 and just see where we're resonant at with this Rig Expert Stick Pro. This thing's awesome. I absolutely love this thing. So we can see right in the center, 6.624 megahertz. We're probably about 1.3 to 1. Yeah, so we need to be up here somewhere. So we got a bit of trimming to do. So I'll do that a couple times. We'll come back and we'll see where we can get 40 at. Insert the sometime later voice here. So I'm just gonna use this ham function here on the Rig Expert. And look at 40 meters. We're just beautiful. 1.24 at 7136. At 7150, it's 1.25 to 1. We are under 1.5 across the entire band. That's fantastic. Let's look at 20 meters. Looking great, under 1.5 to 1 across the entire band as well. Gotta love that. Here's the interesting part though. Let's go to 17 meters. We're not supposed to have good luck here, so we're 1.42 to 1 down there, but under 1.5 to 1 across the whole band there. But it's kind of hating life on 15 meters, which is interesting. And 10 meters, looking really good there. A little bit higher up in the phone portion, but I mean all of that is nice playable bandwidth for 10 meters as well. Now here's another bit of interesting knowledge that I found out. I took one of these toroid ferrite chokes and I've got 4 turns in here right now and it's really affecting things significantly. Brought 15 right in line. I think 4 is too much though, but let me show you what adding 4 turns did, and then I'll show you what adding 3 turns did. Right at the end of the feed line. Let's take a look at 40 first. Didn't change much on 40. We went down a little bit in resonance. We'll go to 20. This is with 4 turns. I mean 1.01 at 14.19. So that's perfect. 17 it doesn't like. 15, look how low this is now. 1.1 at 21.02. If we take this coil, if we take one of these coils out and only have 3, let me show you what happens. We'll sweep it again here. And look at that. Brought 15 right into shape. That's fantastic. That is really good. But then 10 meters gets a little wonky too. It really smooths it out, but I don't think I'd use a choke at all on 10 meters because we had really good SWR without this. So the choke brings 20 and 15 in line, not so much 10. Now real quick, I would just want to tune through the bands here and see what the radio thinks of the antenna. Just key up on CW real quick. We're going to watch this meter here. And I'm keying up now. Oh wow. Meter's not even moving. Let's go up here towards the top. Little tickle there. Not much. So 40's happy. Here's the middle of 20. Maybe almost 1.5. Almost 1.5 to 1. 1.5, maybe 1.6 towards the top there. Take a look at 15. Somewhere around the middle-ish. A little high there. 1.6, 1.7. Let's go up. It's going down, so in the phone portion where I'll be using it, it's pretty good. Let's see, where's the top here? Under 1.5. Yeah, it doesn't like the bottom portion too much, but for the phone portion, we're good on 15. And here's 10 meters. Let's go all the way down. Very little bit towards the bottom. Very little bit. Let's go up to the beginning of the phone portion. Nothing. Not even registering. another little bit there. Nothing. That's awesome. That's fantastic. Nothing there. Oh, here we are at 28.6. We're starting to see just a little tickle there. Just a little tickle. 28.7. So you've got a very, very wide range on 10 meters with this. Wow, that's awesome. And you know, a lot of times we get so caught up looking for the perfect SWR on the analyzer. I was like, you know what? Let's just see what the radio thinks of it. Well, there you go. That is very happy on all the bands that I intend to use it on, 40, 20, 15, and 10. And this thing is going to pack up very, very tiny. I mean, that your antenna's like that big, minus the wire. So I'm gonna, oh, hang on. Oh, what did I do with it? I'm gonna put it, my friend Scott from Ham Radio for Non-Techies 3D printed this K-Murder little winder for me. So I'm gonna use this with the K6ARK antenna. Yeah, it says Papa Poda too. This thing is cool. Oh, when I just turned it on, holy crap, this thing has great ears. I'm hearing signals all over the place. So I'm gonna do another video where I activate with this. This is already getting too long. Just wanted to show the build and the tuning and my screw ups and how bad I can solder. And if you wanna talk about my soldering skills, well, I suggest you put a video on YouTube and show the world how you solder before I hear any of your crap. First time soldering a surface mount component like that. So that was an adventure. So anyway, guys, there will be links for all of this stuff in the description. Adam, my friend, thank you so much for sending these our way. And hopefully by the 50th time I build one, I'll have it as good as you make them. All right, guys, if you haven't already, hit the like button, hit the share, hit subscribe. Follow me on Twitter. Yes, that's the thing. I'm on Twitter at K8MRD. And we'll see you again on another episode of K8MRD Radio Stuff. 73, guys.